This episode is brought to you by the Regional Air Quality Council. This summer, go wild for Front Range air quality and leave the car at home and walk, bike, or scoot shorter distances to reduce ground level ozone. Remember, to reduce that ground level ozone, you have to turn your car off and definitely don't idle with the AC on. Created from pollutants like car exhaust, ozone is the Front Range's biggest air quality issue and the leading cause of respiratory problems. Know when it matters most to take these simple steps for better air. Sign up for summer ozone text alerts by sending Better Air CO to 21000 or visit simplestepsbetterair.org. That's simplestepsbetterair.org. Today on CityCast Denver, construction on the 16th Street Mall is now projected to last until 2025, and some downtown business owners aren't sure they will survive that long. Meanwhile, across the city, a new restaurant in Harvey Park closed after just 4 months, and questions remain. Was the Southwest Side just not ready for a hip brunch spot, or did a restaurateur misunderstand the neighborhood? Producer Paul Caroli and I dig into these stories and more. Today is Tuesday, June 25th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Hi, Paul.
Hey, good morning, Bree.
Let's start with this shout out for Biker Jim. Before we get into things, what are we looking for from our beautiful audience?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So last week, the news broke that, legendary Denver icon Biker Jim Pittenger, who started out selling hot dogs on the 16th Street Mall, which is an interesting connection that maybe we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Oh, yeah, good point.
With one of our stories today. But he is leaving the business after a rough couple of years is what it sounds like for Biker Jim's hot dogs. And he hired this other CEO. They made this deal with
He was
Ballerina
a friend.
that went real bad. And then it seems like he just threw up his hands and he's like, I'm out. I'm not doing the hot dog business anymore.
I just want to say for the record, we did this great show with Biker Jim last year and I had such a lovely time with him. And I think that's why this extra bummed me out, because he genuinely seems like a guy that thinks hot dogs are awesome.
Which is cool.
Now he's out of the business for a while. But
for now, maybe he'll have a new place.
True.
Biker Jim 2's, that'd be fun.
I'd go
totally
there.
Imagine that happening.
I would go there.
But yeah, anyway, there was a lovely piece in Westward by Westward's old food writer, Jason Sheehan. And he was writing about Biker Jim, who he had covered for many years. And at the end of the piece, Jason was like, if there was a Mount Rushmore of Denver's culinary icons, Biker Jim would be on it.
I love this concept. Also, Jason Sheehan, go back and read his work if you haven't. One of the best food critics of all time.
King. But yeah, we were like, wait a second, who else would be on that Mount Rushmore? That's kind of a fun idea. And also, does Biker Jim deserve a spot? There's a lot of great people out there.
Not a lot of people get blessed by Anthony Bourdain into this work.
That's true. He's got a lot going for him.
We want to hear from you all. Like, who would be on the culinary Mount Rushmore for Denver? Past, present, anybody that you feel impacted the way food happens in this city.
I think listeners are going to know better than us in a lot of cases.
100%.
Like, 'cause I want to hear about restaurateurs. I want to hear about, that story about that great bartender at Nob Hill who was there for like 40 years.
Yeah.
Or like the bar back. Like someone like that would be great to put up on the Mount Rushmore of the culinary Mount Rushmore.
Yes, or I was thinking about Zona from Zona's Tamales, who ran this restaurant in 5 Points that felt like you were literally in her living room. But politicians hung out there, these people that brought community together, or people that really did innovative stuff with food. It's a wide variety. So give us a call on the Culinary Mount Rushmore hotline, 720-500-5418, and let us know who you think belongs on our mountain.
Yeah, because we're going to do this show soon and we need your help.
Okay, let's move on. 16th Street Mall. It's in the headlines again, but it's at what seems to be a real crossroads. Robert Davis at the Colorado Sun wrote this really interesting in-depth piece on the current state of the 16th Street Mall. But Paul, what is the latest?
The latest is it's like a friggin' maze down there.
It really is.
It's a crossroads, but it's also a hard to crossroads.
That was bad, but...
It's like a corn maze, I walked to lunch the other day because we were on Thursdays. We work downtown, and it's like a corn maze of chain link fence. In this one particular strip. You think you're going here, and then you get turned around, and you're like, oh, wait a second, I'm on 17th now. Like, what? How did I even get here? It's a mess. It's a mess because they're halfway through this planned renovation project that is now set to last through 2025. And they're slowly, piece by piece, getting rid of the old pavers, the old IMPay designed.
They're doing massive infrastructure work.
Huge. Yeah. And it has to do with water. It has to do with how expensive the upkeep was. That was one of the most interesting things I learned about in this Colorado Sun piece that we're going to talk about, is that it was costing the city $1 million a year to upkeep this, I mean, beautiful and iconic, but apparently not super durable, designed the actual like pavers of the mall that we were walking on.
Can I just give one? Okay, first of all,
Please.
Agree. This was very interesting and also sucks because it cost a lot of money. But I would just say, in defense of those of us preservationists who care about IMPay's legacy, I think if the city had not knocked down the hyperbolic paraboloid, his other piece on the mall, we wouldn't be so sad about them removing it. But understanding maintenance-wise, it was not ideal.
Yeah.
It's not
Although,
ideal.
I don't know. I don't see a lot of sadness about it, to be honest. I don't know if it was like that beloved public art thing. Like
no,
they were
it was
going to take
just the
down
last
Lucifer,
vestige.
you know?
No, it was like a vestige of an important time architecturally, but I hear you.
But anyway, I mean, this renovation project plus the pandemic obviously is the other big piece of this, is people aren't going downtown as much. People are using this space in different ways. It's posed a quandary for city officials. What do we do?
What do we do?
What is the 16th Street Mall's identity in the next era of Denver?
That is a really hard question. Like, I don't envy that position because there's so many factors at stake, right? We're talking massive infrastructure changes. We're talking, what does retail look like? We're talking, what do we think downtown needs to attract people? There's all these just different things. And I really was interested in, I liked that Robert framed this around an individual family-owned store.
Yes.
Because
this was helpful.
It was helpful because the 16th Street Mall, again, it's been known as it was home to a lot of bigger global chains, honestly.
Sure.
Nike
Hard Rock Cafe, RIP, come back soon.
Nike Town was a big thing when I was a kid.
There's a Nike Town?
Yeah, in the pavilions. But like...
Barnes & Noble
Barnes
at
&
one
Noble.
end, Tattered Cover on the other. Now,
yeah,
neither.
But there's this store, Mount Everest Imports of Himalaya, that's been there since 1995. Tell us about this store.
I loved this story. The focus on this one particular store to hear what they've gone through, specifically around this renovation project. This kind of knocked my socks off. You know, they said, Robert Davis, who was the reporter on this piece, reported that sales at this shop have dropped 50% since work began on the mall in late 2022. The family that runs this place has had to let go 2 of their 3 employees. They say that they have had to use roughly $60,000 from their retirement accounts and max out a credit card to keep the business open because sales have just been too slow. You know, they used to get a lot of tourists. They're not getting the same amount of tourists. And then also just like regular folks from Denver aren't going down there to work as much. So the foot traffic is slow. And then the construction comes along and it's been just a trickle. So the interesting part is that they have gotten some city support and the city is doing a lot of different stuff. You know, this is one of Mayor Johnston's big priorities is quote unquote revitalizing downtown. But the way they're doing it is interesting. So like for some of these businesses, they've doled out $1.2 million in grant money for folks affected by the construction. But for this business, they've only gotten $17,000.
Which compared to the just $60,000 they had to take out of their retirement, that was one chunk. That's like kind of not anywhere close to keeping a business like this in place.
Yeah, I mean, they're paying $6,000 per month in rent. For this shop. So think about the mismatch between supply and demand here. Like if you're a business owner, it's just the market is not keeping up with where people are at, where customers are at. And it's a big problem. It's a short-term, very acute problem.
And that's such a bummer because I think it's cool to have a store like that, have a legacy and be a place that you can continue to take people like, hey, this is a place I always hit on the 16th Street Mall, but like they may have to find a new place or I would unfortunately just close altogether, especially if they're maybe close to retirement or I don't know.
And that's what it sounds like is going to happen. That's what they're looking at. The owner says to Robert Davis, maybe we can survive until July.
Okay, so that quote came, let me just say, that quote came after these quotes from this economic development person,
Okay.
which I found to be so strange. Sarah Wiebenson, Vice President of Economic Development at the Downtown Denver Partnership, says it's about highlighting the mall's, quote, individual character to create a distinct sense of place that could attract new residents. She also says that DDP envisions adding urban grocery stores near to Broadway, along with amenities like daycare centers, dog groomers, dry cleaners, and whatever people need within walking distance of their home. Like, no offense, but that read to me like a little bit like experimental prototype community of tomorrow, also known as Epcot. So when Epcot was envisioned by Walt Disney, it was this like perfect community. I call them urban planning mushroom trips.
Okay. I
where
don't
you're
know
just
anything
like,
about this.
Oh, it's just like, this is the world of tomorrow.
Huh.
These are all the things that will encompass in this one area, and everybody will get everything they need. And that's how that quote from the economic development person read to me versus the reality, which is this person saying, I don't know if we're going to survive till July.
Yeah. It's a cute problem, but they've got these big long-term future plans.
But they're not
And
dealing
there's
with
no
the bleeding.
connect.
Yeah. They're not stopping the bleeding right now. And that to me says there's a little bit of a mismatch between what needs to happen and what the dream is of it.
Yeah, and like they are doing a lot of different stuff. Like apparently, according to the Sun piece here, the city officials are working on two priorities simultaneously in their revitalization efforts. It's two buckets. So it's one bucket is adding apartments and playgrounds to attract families, which I think we should talk about. Yeah. And then the other one is expanding retail and entertainment options to attract tourists, which I totally get. I mean, that's what the 16th Street Mall has always been.
Yeah.
It's a service and an attraction for tourists. That makes sense as an economic driver for our city. I get why we would want to double down on that and bring it back to where it was. The families piece.
It does not connect with me. I mean, as a person with a family, it's not just going to be that they have housing in one park near. Is it a neighborhood I want to be in? Is it for kids anyway? Those two things just don't go together for me because it's like there's bars. Maybe I'm thinking about how I utilized the 16th Street Mall back in the day versus how I would as a parent. And those things just don't connect to me.
That's what I wanted to talk about because I think it's kind of weird because you use the word neighborhood.
Yeah.
I don't know if people think about downtown as a neighborhood.
I don't.
I mean, it obviously could be. And I can see how it would fit into like the governor's goals to like densify our urban areas. I know the mayor's on board for that. Like I know why it's good, to achieve our climate goals, but I don't know any families that would want to do that. And it feels like, you're not building on what's already there with this priority. Right. You're trying to create something.
It's like you're trying to change it into something totally new.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is the answer.
Yeah. I'm just always skeptical of when I see things like this that are working against the market forces and not working with them.
Or like a different transformation to get there. You're not just going to go overnight from a place that people went after work for a drink to a place someone wants to raise their family. There needs to be a smoother transition or some more amenities down there before you start. I don't know. It's just two things happening at once that I'm not getting.
That chicken and egg problem, that's for the experts to figure out, honestly. I mean, maybe we talked to your old boss, Brad Siegel, about that, who's probably got some really good ideas.
He was in my mind this whole time because the mall was built in 1982. It was part of the second generation of this pedestrian mall, which is, again, an urban planner dream that started in the 50s and 60s to do this pedestrian-centric, which is cool, right? Carless area for people to get their groceries and shop and be downtown and all these things. And then it kind of had to respond to the reality of what was happening, which is there was a lot of confusing stuff happening in downtown over the decades. If we're talking about the oil bust, we're talking about the latest, so many 30% of these office buildings being vacant. There's just so many things happening. And I just don't know if the vision matches something that could happen, say, in the next 5 years. It might be more in the next 25 years.
Yeah.
It's very strange. But can we talk really quick about the mall?
Oh, the mall, the quote unquote mall?
The mall.
As a mall? Oh, yes. Because we had a conversation with some folks at the Downtown Denver Partnership a few weeks ago. Lovely people. But they told us something that was kind of surprising about this. Apparently, they're de-emphasizing the word mall. And they're starting to talk about 16th Street. Only 16th Street.
I mean, if you think about it, Pearl Street operates that way in Boulder. It's been the Pearl Street Mall, but people refer to it as Pearl Street. They don't refer to it as the mall. And I wonder if that's just like the thought process is changing the perception if people think malls aren't cool. Maybe?
I don't know. I feel like when I heard that, I was like, that maybe is a play for more of the neighborhood family feel. Because like, I don't want to live at the mall. I don't want to live
I do.
on top
You
of
don't.
the, yeah, that's true.
I absolutely want to live at the mall.
All right,
But I can see where that would not work for most people. That's fair.
Yeah.
So it's a rebranding. We'll see. You know how rebrandings are. They either are embraced or people will stick relentlessly to the thing that they want to call it, and the rebrand will become the joke.
Well, listeners, let us know what you think about the state of the 16th Street Mall. We want to hear from you. Very confusing stuff happening. What are your experiences out there lately? That's the most interesting stuff to me. So call in 720-500-5418. But let's move on. We got one more good topic here.
This episode is brought to you by the Coldwell Banker Denver Century Ride. Cycle the city this year with the Coldwell Banker Denver Century Ride in partnership with CityCast Denver. For 13 years, this event has been Denver's ultimate urban cycling tour. You can discover the Metro's most bikeable streets, trails, lanes, and parks. The Century Ride is on Saturday, September 28th, and starts and finishes at the shops at Northfield. Participants can choose to ride 25, 50, 85, or 100-mile courses. The courses will be supported with aid stations, police details, and bike mechanics the whole way. This ride benefits Bicycle Colorado, the state's leading cycling advocacy organization. For more information, check out denvercenturyride.com. Now through July 15th, get 10% off your registration. Again, that's denvercenturyride.com. This episode is brought to you by Denver Health. Heading to Winter Park this summer? Don't forget, Denver Health's Winter Park Medical Center is right there for you at the base of the resort. Whether it's a routine checkup, a pulled muscle from hiking, or even altitude sickness, Denver Health is here for you. Denver Health offers primary care, urgent care, sports medicine, emergency services, and so much more. The Winter Park Medical Center serves the community with men's and women's wellness visits, pediatric care, prenatal care, sick visits, and radiology services. The location is optimal for connecting with visitors and locals all around the Grand County area. From wellness exams and immunizations to managing chronic illness, Denver Health has you covered. Denver Health's Winter Park Medical Center is open all year long to ensure you're always taken care of. For more information, visit denverhealth.org/winterpark. That's denverhealth.org/winterpark.
Our next topic, it's not really big news because more than 200 restaurants closed in Denver in the past year. That's according to CBS Colorado. But the Harvey Park Grill was supposed to be different. This is a place that had a pedigree from owner Josh Epps, the Jelly breakfast chain. There's 2 locations in Cap Hill and Evans, and everyone was very excited. I know, Brie, you were very excited.
I was so excited.
When he was going to open this new place, the Harvey Park Grill, in the old Rosemary Cafe space. But just after 4 months, according to Denverite, it is gone.
4 months.
4 months.
So he said, Josh Epps says that the business never picked up to what they anticipated to be. I wonder if maybe he had some different ideas about what business looks like in a suburban area versus, he was like, I just thought it would be as busy as our Capitol Hill location or our DU location. Again, I love Jelly. I go to both of those. Those are very different neighborhoods than what we're talking about here.
We're talking about drunk DU students stumbling out on a Saturday morning or drunk Capitol Hill, hotties stumbling out on a Saturday morning versus
people that brunch.
Yeah.
Right. And not to say that families don't brunch. I definitely brunch too. I do a different kind of brunching, I guess. But I think having that in your mind is what is going to be the crowds is just not realistic. Also, he took over a restaurant in a dead strip mall. Okay.
Is that where it is? Tell me about the neighborhood. Explain.
So it's along this corridor of Sheridan that has really been struck by disinvestment for the last 20-ish years. You can tell by the architecture that its poppin' times were the 50s and 60s. Tons of 50s and 60s mid-mod, smaller buildings with big parking lots that served the neighborhood at that time. Things have changed. For instance, right behind where Harvey Park Grill was, it's literally in a sea of parking lot, and hundreds of feet back is what used to be a Target. Because my husband's friends worked there in high school. That Target's been gone for probably 20 years. It's a giant 99-cent store. We know that that's not a destination like a Target, right?
Well, for some people. Maybe not the people he was trying to aim for.
Well, definitely that, but also just there's just not enough volume. People go to Target to get all kinds of things. The dollar store
for sure.
It's a little bit different, I guess I would just say. And I don't even necessarily think that's a class issue as much as Target. It's Target.
Yeah.
When Target leaves your strip mall's kind of effed. But Rosemary Cafe puttered along there since the 70s in that spot. And when they closed in 2022, I think it was very admirable for Josh Epps to say the neighborhood still wants a restaurant, which they very much did. But I just don't know if he brought the restaurant that people were going to make a regular place.
Well, let's talk about the disconnect here, because Kevin Beatty at Denverite, he had a great piece on this, and he highlighted this long and very contentious Facebook thread from, it sounded like a lot of neighbors talking about the closure. This is totally up my alley. So I just want to read you a couple of comments, see what you think about this. Chris P. wrote, 3 times for me, I assume that's visits to Harvey Park Grill, mediocre at best. I think what didn't help was having breakfast only on the weekends. Expectations were high. Rosemary's was a tough act to follow. Maybe most were expecting something similar. Menu was extremely limited as well. Kind of a bummer. I really looked forward to them opening.
The limited menu made me laugh because Rosemary's Cafe was a diner. Diners have unlimited menus. Their menus are insane in the amount of offerings. And I would say his experience mirrored the folks in my family and my friend group that tried to go to Harvey Park Grill.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because I actually tried to get my friends that live in Harvey Park to meet us there one time. And they're like, nah, we went. It wasn't good.
Oh, that's so sad.
And then I was like, my in-laws live not super, it's their old neighborhood. So they would go to Rosemary Cafe all the time, Rosemary's. And we said, hey, meet us let's try Harvey Park Grill. Well, the 2 times we went, the food was cold and the service was okay. So they just stopped going. And the hard part is you don't get very many chances to make a first impression.
Yeah.
And part of it is they were only there for 4 months, Paul. That's not a lot of time for people to build a habit around something or to give it another chance. But
it's also not a lot of time for a restaurant to get into its groove.
Right.
Either.
And figure out what it should be changing about its menu or its atmosphere to meet the clientele that is newer to them.
I suspect there's 2 things going on. I suspect there's Josh Epps. He spent a lot of money and maybe didn't hit the mark immediately, but then something else happened.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you bail on a business like that fast.
That
he
was
knows
how
the
I
restaurant
felt
business.
too.
He must have
saw
known
something or...
But yeah, he must have seen something else happening. But then also just it clearly was not suiting the neighborhood's needs.
Again, I think that commenter, Rosemary's Cafe was a tough act to follow. It really was. A diner is a no question. You know what you're getting. It's one of those fallback places that you go kind of no matter who you're eating with. And this was a very, maybe more niche operation. And so when folks walked in expecting something and got something very different, it just didn't hit.
Here's a comment. This I picked just for you. This is from Regina M., who wrote, "It's a shame that South Sheridan Boulevard only supports empty, blighted buildings and a shitty 99-cent store. I hoped it would revitalize like Rhino or Lohi."
I mean, those are some pipe dreams, homegirl. To be honest with you, you can't just expect one restaurant to be the chain reaction. However, I'm with her, and I think it's what a lot of folks in the neighborhood feel. There is a ton of dead real estate hanging out and they're waiting when is something going to come along? Because to be fair, there's a restaurant, I think it's Los Gallotitos or something. There is a Mexican restaurant in the strip mall that I've gone to many times. It's very good, but it's literally the only thing. And I hear her. If you're familiar with this stretch, you know how many blocks and blocks of vacant buildings and empty parking lots there are. And this may have just been too early in the quote, revitalization process.
Off cycle.
Yeah, it wasn't, or it had to hang on for a really, really long time for the rest. Because that's the thing, you want to talk about Rhino. There were some businesses that had to hang on for a really long time before it saw that total change. This would be a question I'd have for Councilman Flynn. This is his district. What is he thinking happened? What does he think his neighborhood needs? Because it definitely needs restaurants. It's not that people didn't want a restaurant there, but something else was going on. Also, Andrew Feinstein that owns Trax.
The developer?
Yeah, the developer, I think owns that strip mall. And I was like, what's up his sleeve? What's he doing in Bear Valley? I'm so interested. But that's the kind of money that you see start the change.
Yeah, catalyze something.
It's like the Zeppelins and Rhino. This could be the Feinstein and Bear Valley situation. So,
interesting.
All that to say, I was so excited, and I'm really bummed I didn't actually get to go because I tried to go 3 times, and the people I was going to meet did not want to go there.
That is so unfortunate. I wish you could have had a chance to go. Maybe you could have been the spark.
I know.
You could have gone and loved it and come and given it a glowing review, and then
I love his other restaurants, and I love the aesthetic, but I'll never get a chance to be. But Paul, this kind of comes around to this neighborhood restaurant conversation. You live in the neighborhood where I grew up. What does this look like in Virginia Village?
Well, I think everyone can kind of relate to this a little bit.
Yes.
Every neighborhood's got a place that is good enough for you.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about the neighborhood restaurant. Like it can be a great business if you can clear the very low bar of getting people to walk 5 minutes from their house.
Proximity is everything.
You know, because Esther's is popping every night. They are so busy in Virginia Village where I live. And I go there and I don't like Esther's. I don't like it. I don't like anything on their menu. I think their pizza's bad. But Megan and I, we have an order that we like. We'll share a pizza and we'll share the Green Goddess salad. And it's good enough. And just the fact that it's there and close, and they got a lot of big TVs and they'll play the sports games I want to watch.
They have a nice patio.
It's okay.
I like it.
It's okay.
I mean, your view is the milk store gas station, but
yeah, and a bunch of new senior living.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
but you're just saying it does the job. It's not your...
Well, it does the job for other people really well. I think I'm an outlier in the neighborhood.
Well,
There's not a lot
snob.
of like... Thank you. There's not a lot of like childless young people like Megan and I. There are a lot of families, and I think Esther's nails it for families and sports fans too.
And
it's huge.
Let me tell you, as a child growing up in that neighborhood, Paul, that was a bar called Easy Pickins, which I also unfortunately frequented as a child because I'm a child that got taken to bars all the time. But I know my parents would have loved to have that restaurant there. So that is so interesting to me. For me, it's Looking Good Lounge on First and Sheridan. It's 100%. I love everything about it. They do everything right. The services, they know my son actually better than they know me because he comes in with his Nana.
How do you think they nail the neighborhood though? What about the neighborhood do they get right?
It's working people. It's working people, and it's reasonably priced. It's a diner, so it has a wide variety, and it's typical Denver diner style. This is a Greek family that owns it. So they have Greek, Mexican, and American staple diner fare, pancakes, grilled cheese, stuff like that. So the menu is a wide variety. They have the atmosphere is fantastic. It's an old school diner. It's beautiful. The service is fantastic. From the front door to the busser, everyone is nice. And the park has parking. I'll just say people love parking. But it does all the things. The only thing it doesn't do, it's not open late enough. I would go there. I would take my friends there at midnight after a show, or like that's the one thing that bums me out. But they're a family-owned restaurant. You know, they want to go home. But all I'm saying is it actually hits all the things. I'm very lucky to have that in my neighborhood.
Good for them. I want to hear about listeners' neighborhood spots.
What's your neighborhood spot?
Tell us about it, and tell us about why it's great for your neighborhood.
Or why it works or why it maybe doesn't work, but you go there anyway.
Yeah, even better. Even better. Again, the number is 720-500-5418.
This episode is brought to you by Pine Melon, the farmer's market delivered. Miss the farmer's market this weekend? Don't fret. Pine Melon has got you covered, delivering Colorado's freshest local produce straight to your doorstep. Pine Melon is a next-generation grocery delivery app that partners with over 200 local farmers, ranchers, and producers in Colorado. With a mission to transform Denver's food system, empower local makers, and promote community well-being, they make supporting local both easy and rewarding. Enjoy high-quality meats, eggs, and dairy from small local farms, as well as a wide variety of pantry staples, all delivered straight to you. The best part? Pine Melon offers same-day delivery to Denver and Boulder within a 2-hour window. No subscription necessary. Support local today and use promo code CityCastDenver for $75 off your first delivery at pinemelon.com. Enjoy the best of the farmers market, even when you can't make it there yourself.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, CEO of CityCast. Or, as I can say now, thanks to a few weeks with Babbel, hola, soy David Plotz, el jefe de CityCast. What if in 2024 you got a little bit better every day? When you're learning a new language with Babbel, that's exactly what you're doing. And if Babbel can help me start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks, imagine what you could do in a full year. I got started with Babbel because I realized that my girlfriend, who's a native Spanish speaker, and my son, who's in AP Spanish, were conspiring against me, or I thought they were conspiring against me in Spanish. I wanted to know what they were talking about. And now, thanks to literally just a few weeks of Babbel, I'm starting to be able to eavesdrop. It is rare that something so fun and simple, and Babbel is super fun and very simple, is also so useful. So here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
I got a text here from Carrie from Castle Rock. Carrie writes, "Thanks for your podcast on ranked choice voting. This was a couple of weeks ago. I was with our good friend, regular politics and Green Chili correspondent Justine Sandoval and Colorado Newsline's Chase Woodruff. Had a very interesting conversation. But Carrie writes, when I first heard about his bill for the ranked choice voting, she's talking about Kent Thiry, I was discouraged about just another rich guy trying to put his fingers in democracy. But learning that he was the one responsible for the bill that allows independents to vote for either Democrats or Republicans may have changed my mind. As an independent voter, I was thrilled when independents started being able to vote for either Democrat or the Republican. I hate our two-party system and always have, and I love that I can vote for whoever I want. I did not know that Kent was responsible for that until I listened to your podcast. I would sign to put ranked choice voting on the ballot. I wish your podcast would have talked about some of the other places that use ranked choice voting and what the outcomes, problems, benefits have been for them. Thanks, Carrie from Castle Rock."
That is a really interesting point. I did not know about Kent Thiry's involvement in that change for... That's for primary ballots?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're unaffiliated, you can choose the Democrat or the Republican ballot. By the way, it's Election Day today. Happy Election Day.
Happy Election Day. That's so interesting. And I'm with Carrie. I think there's a lot more we can dig into.
And we will.
We totally
I hope
will.
to. I've been talking to Kent Thiry's people for months now, trying to find the right time. I think we're going to do it after the primary, after we have a whole new batch of data on how some of these elections are working out. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. We do need to talk about more of the benefits, but he has to answer the question about whether or not he's doing this just to ease his own path to the governor's office. He must answer this question personally and directly. Mm-hmm. And if he does not appear on the podcast, listeners, you know that it's because he doesn't want to answer that question.
I mean, because I'm also with Carrie when there was assumptions about him being just another rich guy trying to put his fingers on democracy. And I also am concerned about that.
100%.
So we'll just ask
100%.
him.
Yeah, he might have some good ideas, that a lot of people like, and that's your right to do so. And you can vote however you want on these ballot measures. But
we'll see. People
need to know what his intentions are.
Yes. Also, yes, vote today, please.
Have you voted?
No.
No, me neither.
Why do we always wait till the last minute, Paul? Is this because we think about this all day long, every day of our lives?
I want as much information as possible. That's why I do it.
Did you get 47? Oh, wait, you're not in a House district, huh?
No, there's no contested races. There's only the DA race that's contested. And So
you didn't get 47,000 flyers in your mailbox like I did?
I think I got none.
Oh, I'm jealous. Lucky you. Well, go out and vote, please, everyone. And we're going to be, of course, talking about that tomorrow.
See you then.
Bye. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell Jelly owner Josh Epps about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later. There is a squirrel doing the Tootsie Roll just right in front of my window.